Hello and welcome to another class of Teen Times. Today we're going to be reading a story about the Serengeti. Now, if you look at this first question here, it says, what is your favorite travel destination? And so if I think about all the places that I've been to, one of the places that comes to mind is the Philippines. And the reason is because when I went there, it was the first time that I was able to do some scuba diving and snorkeling and just going under the water and just seeing all the different types of aquatic life just seemed like really magical. So the place was people were pretty friendly and the malls were really good, the food was really good. So if I had a chance, I would definitely go back there. Now, in today's story, we are going to be in a different part of the world. This place, the Serengeti, that's in Africa. And so we're going to go ahead and practice reading this and see what they say about this part. So starting with the first sentence, the Serengeti is a savanna region that lies in northern Tanzania and southwestern Kenya. And this word savanna, when they say a savanna region, they're talking about an area that has a lot of grass, or sometimes we just call it a grassland region. And so the country Tanzania and Kenya, well, I think the best way to see where they are is to look at a map. And so if we, well, I guess this map would be a little bit better. So if we think about Africa over here, and if you go to the eastern part and in the middle, we can see that here we have Tanzania, and just above that we have Kenya. This great ecosystem has two parts, the Serengeti National Park in Tanzania and the Masai Mara National Reserve in Kenya. Okay, so then let's go back to our map, because if you look at this map here, and maybe this map's a little bit better, here we can see in this part here is the Serengeti National Park. But there's something a little bit strange. Can you figure out what it is? Well, let's go back to this. And if we take a look at this part, it says the African ecosystem, and here they're talking about the park. They're saying that the park has two parts, not one, two. The Serengeti National Park in Tanzania and the Masai Mara National Reserve in Kenya. So then if we take a look at this map, here they just talk about the one part. And so based on the reading, we know that there should be another part of the park somewhere in Kenya. Moving on to the next sentence, the name Serengeti comes from a Maasai word, Seringet, which means a place where the land stretches endlessly. So when they say something stretches endlessly, so stretch. So stretch basically means to get bigger. So let's say, for example, if I take this box and I draw a box and I want to stretch it, I can do that. I am stretching the box. If I want to make it smaller, we use the word called shrinking. So when they talk about the land that stretches endlessly, they mean that this land never stops, or it just continues on and on. And so the reason that they say that is because if we look at some of these pictures over here, like let's say this, I mean, it does sort of look like the land just goes on forever, like it never stops. Okay, so then let's think about the information that was presented in this first paragraph. So first they're talking about number one, where, oops, let me do this. So they're talking about where the park is, or they're basically saying the location of the park. And then they tell us a little bit more about the park in the second part. So they're saying in here, the park has two parts. Park has two parts, and they're actually telling us more specific information about where the park is, because they said that one part is in the country Tanzania and the second part is in Kenya. And then in the third sentence, they talked about the meaning. So the meaning of the word Serengeti. Okay, moving on into the second part. The Serengeti is home to many wildlife species. So I think the easy way to explain wildlife species would be just many animals. And they use this word such as. So such as is another way to say example. So a lot of times when we use example, we will say for example. So usually for example starts at the beginning of the sentence, but notice that when we use such as, it's in the middle of the sentence. So they're saying this is the beginning, and then in the middle, such as, and then they give us examples of lots of different animals. So we have the buffalo, elephant, giraffe, eland, topi, Kangoni, impala, gazelle, hyena, jackal, lion, cheetah, and leopard. I had to take a breath. That was just too many words, too many animals. Well, some of these animals I do know. Like I know what a buffalo is, elephant, giraffe, right? That's pretty easy. Eland, not E-Mart, but eland. I'm not sure what that is, so the best way to find out is just to go into Naver or actually Google and just look it up and see if we get some pictures. Okay, I have seen, sometimes I watch National Geographic, and I've seen this animal on the National Geographic TV program, but I had no idea that this animal is called a eland. Now I know. Okay, so then let's go ahead and move on to the next sentence. So the greatest spectacle in the Serengeti is an annual migration of the wildebeest, zebra, and Thompson's gazelle. So what they're saying here is the greatest spectacle. Spectacle means something that you can watch, something that you can see or you can watch, and we call that a spectacle. So this great thing that you can see in the Serengeti is an annual, or something that happens every year is annual. Sometimes we say yearly migration of this animal, and this animal. So a migration is basically some kind of movement. So let's say, for example, if I go back to my map, and let's say the animals, they go from here, they go move to here and move to here, but probably in real life, they're going to be moving outside the park. So they'll probably go actually into other countries, and they will migrate to the lake over here. They will migrate to Kenya, and so when the animals are moving, they call that a migration. And they talk about the specific animals. So the wildebeest, so let's look that up. That's actually a pretty common African animal. And we have that. You have probably seen that. They call this a wildebeest. So it says that this migration, so this makes the Serengeti one of the 7 natural wonders of Africa and one of the 10 natural wonders of the world. So they're saying that the migration is really amazing. It's so amazing that it's the 7 natural wonders of Africa and also this. So to get an understanding, then I guess we can go back to another picture. And here is a picture of a migration. So you have all of these wildebeest. I mean, they're just moving together and you can see that they're just kind of moving from here, and possibly they're moving over there, and you can just see all of these animals together moving, going from one part of the land to another part of the land. Um, and if you can see them in their natural, wild environment, it can be really exciting. And that's why people really um, visit, and they really think the Serengeti National Park is so special. Okay, so then again, let's think about the information in the second paragraph, and let's kind of make an outline like here to see how they organized it. So in this first part, they are talking about many animals. So they're basically saying many animals, and then they gave us some examples. So examples, lots of examples. And one of the new animals that we learned was this eland, and it basically either looks like a deer or maybe like a small buffalo. So that was all in the first part. In the second part, they're saying that the best thing, the greatest spectacle, or the best thing about the Serengeti National Park is this great migration. And migration, we said, is just some kind of movement of these animals. And that's about it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish the reading for this story. If you have any questions about this, send me an email.